welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about something I think all of us love to do. It's change. What do you think, man? We were talking about this, and you said, "Hey, let's do a podcast about change because we know how much we all like it." So,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Who doesn't like change? Shane?
Probably. Yeah, it's just me.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's the joke I've always heard, right? Is firefighters always want like everything to be better,
Mm-hmm.
but we all hate change.
Yeah,
Well, how did things get better?
yeah. By change. Yeah.
They have to change, right? So we bitch and moan and complain, and of course, from the firehouse and everything, we've all got the best ideas. We know best. And if
Oh,
the
heck
chief
yeah.
would just listen to us, everything would be fine, right?
Yep.
But then when the chief says, "Okay, let's do this," oh, hold on, I don't want to change. What do you mean? What do you mean we got to move the rigs? We got to do this. We got to do something that breaks up this secure little blanket that we have.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really funny because firefighters in general are awful when it comes to change.
Mm-hmm. I just actually had a talk with a family member today, and you hear the story of, I want this, I want that. Well, did you do this? Did you do that? Nah, I didn't, And it's like, okay, well, change requires change. It can be mindset, it can be a routine if you need a routine, it could be anything. But to change, you gotta tell yourself, I'm gonna be doing things that I typically either don't want to do or you have to do, and you have to stay disciplined on a daily basis to get that change, to keep going, to have that change be effective.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
It becomes a new routine.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what a lot of people lose sight of, is that humans in general, I believe, are creatures of habit.
Oh, heck yeah.
We're tribal. We want a certain amount of people in our lives that we connect with. We have similar values and views and beliefs, and because now when you have a tribe, you're safer.
Mm-hmm.
You're more secure. I've said it before in one of our podcasts about one of the clinicians used to say, every person wants to be seen, heard, safe, and secure.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you change something, that shifts a lot of those things. It specifically shifts the safe and the secure part.
Okay.
Seen and heard, you could have a friend group that you feel heard and seen in, but if you were like your story of a major shift is shaking your security, that directly affects safety, because now the safety net of the job you used to have is gone.
Oh, yeah.
I know that well as well, because I left the job voluntarily.
Yeah.
And was instantaneously like, oh my God, I blew up my life. What did I do? The magic fairy's not dropping all that money every 2 weeks into the bank account that I hadn't thought about for 8 years, because somehow every 2 weeks, bunch of zeros extra in the bank. Hey, I'm good to go. I can keep being a knucklehead and not worrying about it. And all of a sudden that stops.
Yep.
And there's a big reality check in your face that, oh, this change you wanted, there's some other things that come along with it.
Exactly.
So I think you're spot on. I think people say it all the time. I want this, I want that. And it's like, well, are you willing to look at what you're currently doing and reassess what you need to be doing in order to get said I want?
Exactly. And that's I would say the majority of the time it'll last for a little bit. I always use, say, the gym. I feel like it's a decent thing. Man, I want my sleep to be better. I want to look better when I go to the beach, or I just want to feel more confident when I look at myself in the mirror. And I'll hear this a lot too. Oh, don't take a photo of me because I don't like the way I look. It's like, well, okay, well then, why don't you like the way you look? Well, I just, I'm a little chubby here. I don't like my smile, or this, whatever the reasons are. It's like, okay, well, if you don't like the way you look, there's probably something deeper, and go work on it. Nah, but they love to complain or just say they want to look like that or whatever it might be, So, anyways, like with my change compared to yours, it was a lot. I mean, everybody's gone through change these past few years. We've had COVID, that's been a huge change for the world. And like you said, we are tribal people. We are creatures. We need to have interaction with one another. That's just, what we do, that's how we, become stronger. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And with COVID, I still think, dude, I don't know if you feel this way, but a lot of people still have not recovered from it. I feel like there's still a lot of damage that has been done,
I 100% agree with you about that.
Over the board, whether it's religion or whether it's politics, whether it's just yourself, self-doubt of wherever your identity was. How many people lost jobs? They only have maybe a certain type of skill set. They didn't grow with the change in times because they were used to a certain way of living, whatnot. And I know for me, the past, few years, it's been a change of job. It's going from being married to not being married. It's going from trusting the Bible to not trusting the Bible at times. It's going from loving and trusting myself to knowing what the hell I want, not knowing who I was anymore, not knowing where my identity was, not knowing what defined me. Being a fireman, like we talked, in another episode, it's like, it was a big part of it still is a big part of our identities and how it defines us. So you lose that. You are not around the station with your buddies. You're not, smoking and joking and going on fires, medical aids, whoever wants to go on medical aids, but some of them are good. Even if it's like a car accident, it's still, you just have to treat a patient, I mean, we're not like Fresno, dude. We're just going to fight fires all day, but, so that's a lot of change. And for me personally, in the past, I would say 3.5 years, it's been, from making plenty of money to making less than half, that's okay. But it's like you said, the magic fairy, when you're working overtime, you've got strike teams, you've got a certain,
it's not okay to your brain.
No, it's not okay to your brain.
Fundamentally, rationally, when you say, oh yeah, no big deal, but yeah, it's a big, massive difference.
Yeah.
And there are consequences for that. And you have to adjust to that. Right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like, we tell ourselves it's okay. And yeah, you're fine. You're breathing. You're sitting here. It's not like you're out on the street. So you're doing fine. But it's a really long road, right? When that massive shift happens.
Oh yeah, dude. It's the simple things, man. I mean, I did not grow up with a lot of money. I grew up with the complete opposite.
Right.
I think we've talked about this before, but, I put a lot of, like a lot of us do, but, want to get a good solid career to take care of yourself, take care of your family. I moved a lot when I was younger. There's been, a few times I had to live in a car, didn't have a home. So I lived with my grandparents, lived in my parents' shop before because they couldn't afford a home. So it was always very shaky. And so like being a fireman, me growing up, I wanted to be the best version of myself, first of all, but just be a man that led, that could, have food on the table, healthy food every night, have a nice, safe home to come to, have reliable cars. If I didn't have any kids, but it was always in my head, if I had kids, I don't want to be moving every couple of years because that's where the business is at. You want to make sure your kids, go to a school where they can connect with people and have a solid foundation to grow, So with the change that happened to me in the past few years, it felt like I was back being a kid again. It's like, you're restarting your life. Okay, which is fine. You grow. I get it. It's
but when it first happens,
you're just, no, not at all. And you don't want to pity yourself, but it's like, man, okay, money you're used to, the college you went to, the degree you got, all the stuff you trained to do, your dream job. It was for me. It wasn't a cliche. Being a fireman was like my dream job, and working with your buddies and all that kind of stuff. So when that stuff is no longer there, that the change is going to take time, but there's a lot of stuff in that change that I wasn't prepared for. You're like, wow, okay, I want to get this, but I can't get that right now. Yeah, you can. You can go get a job and, and try to make up that difference, which we all do, which is fine. but it's not like that constant paycheck or that constant even fulfillment of a job. It's like, okay, well, I can go work at Home Depot. I can go flip burgers if I need to. Of course, you will do what you have to do to make sure money's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is, right? But life is more than money. We money's a big thing, but you also want to have fulfillment in what you do. You want to make an impact in what you do. You want to just do things. I think most firemen, we want to do things bigger than ourselves. That's why we get into the job. So when you're looking at the change of your mindset of what are you going to get up in the morning and do, your identity, how are you going to make a difference in the world, how much money are you going to make, how are you going to pay for benefits, because now you're used to a certain benefit package, so now it's like, okay, well, you're not getting that extra money anymore, you're not getting the money from the department, so now your benefits go way up, your pay goes down. For me personally, I had to go live back with family, man. Had to live back with family to restart my life, and that was very hard for me to accept. Here I'm in my 30s and work my butt off to go to college, get a great job, checked all those boxes, right? Get a good job, good retirement, blah, 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 right? Life happens, it gets taken away, right? And so you're like, okay, let's go to square one. Let's figure it out. I can talk like it sounds easy now, but when you're going through it, whew, dude, it is a lot of change. There's been numerous nights I'm just like, you're down and out and you're depressed. You don't stop, but you really do a lot of soul searching of.
Well, some people stop, right? I mean, you push through, for sure. I mean, that's the difference. But I mean, I have a lot to say about this for obvious reasons. Growing up as a kind of a free thinker, I didn't have, I wasn't constrained in any sort of like belief system or family dynamic that I was kind of swept up in. I kind of was like on my own to do my own sort of navigation of the world, if you will. And so I've always been kind of a person that questions authority. I challenge everything. I think for myself. I call bullshit quick. I don't like hypocrisy, injustice, things like that. I've always felt like I have a pretty decent moral compass, like in terms of things like fairness and justice and doing the right thing. I try to treat people well, and I look out for people I care about.
Oh, for sure.
I try. But as I grew up, I always felt that nagging, like the world is big. And I didn't grow up like you. I didn't grow up with money. We weren't poor in the sense that we had to live in the car. I didn't have that childhood trauma. But, when you're at school and the other kids have the Reeboks and you're in the knockoffs because mom can't afford anything but Payless, and that's once a year. Mm-hmm. That's still real to a kid that like, oh man, we're poor. So financial security to me is definitely an important driving factor in decisions that I make. Mm-hmm. And so, same thing, get that career job at 21 and you're buying a house by 23, 24. I mean, you're doing stuff that most people, 10 years older than you can't do. Yeah. Because of the career and what it affords you. Mm-hmm. And then you quickly take it for granted.
Yep, real fast.
And
I know I did.
I did too. I loved what we do. And I always gave, I think, a good service. Like I gave it my effort. I worked hard. I was trained. I tried to be a good firefighter. So like when I was there, I felt like I was earning my money, but mm-hmm. you lose sight. And another thing is in my 20s, man, I never even thought about retirement. I didn't care about getting married, kids, none of that stuff. So for me, I was just all about loving the job. It was fun. But again, it was this nagging, like, big wide world. I've never traveled, didn't grow up in a family that traveled. So it's like, I'm getting a passport. Same. I'm going to go somewhere, and just take off. And then it's like, oh, wow, that was pretty cool. And then the next one was pretty cool. And then it was like, shit. And then I started meeting these people who were like these cruising, they call them cruisers. They live on sailboats and boats, and they basically live on their boats, and they go from island to island, country to country, and they just go all over the world. They kind of like cruise with the good weather, Yeah. On the East Coast, there's a lot of people they call snowbirds, So when it snows in the winter on the East Coast, a lot of them go down to the Caribbean and hang out on their boats till the weather gets good, and then they fly back home and they summer in New York and, the East Coast and whatnot. So I started reading about these people. I started reading back 100 years ago, people that were sailing by themselves around the world. And I was just like, I can do that, you know? Like they're not better than me. And I thought, man, this world is so much bigger than this little fire department I work for and this job that I'm doing, which is cool. And I love it. And I love my buddies and, you know, but I kept feeling this huge pull to go try this. And so a lot of people that, I mean, I don't know how many people are listening to us talk, but, you know, if you don't know me, you know, I had worked for about 8 years in the fire department that I'm at again now. And I resigned. But I took 3 months off on trades to go see if it's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't so stupid that I just like, I'm out of here and took off. You know, I realized I was going to make a gigantic life change. And so I did my due diligence, if you will. I took 3 months off in trades and holiday and whatnot. And I went down to a boat and I lived on it for a few months. We sailed from Los Angeles all the way down into like deep Mexico. And we spent a few months. I mean, we were kind of cruising to places and spending various time frames in islands and cities and harbors and all these places. And, dude, I was hooked, you know, within the first month, I knew I'm done. I'm out. I'm selling my house. I'm giving my dog away. It was literally like pull the pin, throw the grenade, blow your life up. We're out.
Yeah.
I'm done. So I got back, had a meeting with the chief. You know, I actually like got teary eyed in his office, told him I'm scared to death, chief, but I got to try this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do it I got to go all in. I got to jump off and try this, you know? And he was money, man. He said, okay, I love it. I think it's awesome. He's like, I hope you do well. You know, we love you. You're a hard worker. He gave me 2 years to come back to the job with my seniority in rank. And that was huge.
That's huge, dude.
That was that security blanket, right?
Yeah.
So, or security net, if you will, to catch me if I fall. So I took off, man. I literally, within the span of 2 weeks, I gave away a lot of my possessions, sold some of them, sold my house, sold my rentals, and gave my dog to one of the guys I worked with.
Yeah.
And I was gone 2 weeks later. And I had a couple of bags.
It's a piece.
And it was, dude, I mean, that's a little change.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Huge change. Yeah.
So, awesome. You know, I ended up going to the Caribbean for a while, kind of bumping island to island. I was living on a 45-foot sailing catamaran, meeting crazy, amazing people. You know, I became a dive instructor along the way. You know, I became an actual licensed boat captain that can teach and do auxiliary sailing and towing and all this other stuff. I mean, I was always delving into the next set of skills, the next set of change.
Yeah.
Because, man, I was living on the wind, dude. I was living on the anchor. Like, what a life. But everybody's always like, dude, why'd you come back? You know, why aren't you still doing that stuff? And it's like, well, you know, this was a huge part of who I was. It was part of my identity, as we talked about in the podcast. And I always missed being a firefighter. I always missed my buddies, the firehouse, stuff you and I've talked about. But I kept going, and that 2 year mark was looming, dude. And I was watching that clock tick down, and it was like, when the 2 year mark came, it was like, dude, now it's real. Like, there is no going back. Yeah. So I went through a lot of ups and downs those first 2 years on the ocean, some of the most beautiful places in the world.
Yeah.
But you know, I ultimately stayed on the boat, kept going.
How did it feel though, dude, that second year when you're like, I'm not coming back without that security blanket? Mentally?
No, very challenging. At this point too, though, I had kind of gone through so much. I had a cool support group of buddies that I was able, this is back in like 08, 09, 10. So internet wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So a lot of the places I was at in the world, it was difficult as hell to get internet.
Yeah.
I didn't have an iPhone. I didn't have any of that stuff. I had just a laptop, and I would have to like get the boat anchored up, get in the skiff, go into town, find an internet cafe, pay some money and whatever money they took on that island. And I'd have to go in and sign in, and we would Skype. I couldn't, there was no FaceTime, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all that stuff was like just starting to take off, right?
Yeah.
And this is still like, I think MySpace was still a big thing, right?
Dude.
But basically I communicated via email mostly with most of my buddies. And I would tell some of them like, dude, I'm scared to death. I should come back. I feel stupid, blah, 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 whatever. And all my buddies were awesome. They're like, dude, keep going. What you're doing is bitching. Like, you're following your dreams, all that stuff. So
there was no Starlink, dude?
Yeah, there was no Starlink.
No Starlink.
No Starlink. It was weird. Yeah. No, it was a trip, man. And then there was lots of other stuff that happened along the way that took, because then I thought, cool, I'm going to go be a boat captain on these big giant yachts for these rich people. So I was driving 100-foot plus yachts, delivering them from LA to Cabo San Lucas, and cool. It was decent money, working with some really horrible people that were these uber rich, entitled, just unbelievably rude people. I met some great people along the way too that were uber rich and just down to earth, cool, self-made. So I ran the whole gamut, and every time something else seemed cool, like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'd do it, and it wasn't the same fulfillment as the firefighting job.
Exactly.
And so I was like, damn, this is cool being on this $6 million yacht, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the person that owns it doesn't want to do the things I would do with it. They just want to take it over and have cocktails over on the island.
Yeah.
Right. Which is cool. Right. Hey, man, it's your money, your boat, rock on. But yeah, I want to sail the high seas and think I'm a pirate. Most of these people don't want to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So the money was cool at the time, but there was no retirement.
Mm-hmm.
There was no guarantee of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I kept pivoting, kept checking different things out. And I don't regret doing that, because all those things for me, I tell you all the time, I've got the t-shirt, right? So like, I know I don't have any draw to go pursue those things anymore. Where when I was a young kid, like in my 20s, when I was a kid, I was constantly that allure of that. You and I have been talking because you're going to get into boats, and that you can't help it, right? I mean, you get overwhelmed with the amount of possibilities. And I got to try it all. And I did, man. I did. I tasted it all. I tried really hard to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a big world that I see the globe today, and I think I haven't been anywhere.
That's so wild.
When I look at the map, I'm like, I haven't been anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so that's how big the world really is.
Yeah.
But, even today, and I talked to you earlier about this, now I have to throttle back that desire for change,
mm-hmm.
because that pendulum can swing too far.
Yeah.
So having fear of change can be crippling and keep you stagnant and stuck. I was talking to somebody today about this, and it's like, we talk about marriages sometimes, and we say all this stuff, and we talk, a lot of what we know is that we're the firefighters that come home, and we have these issues that we bring home with us and stuff. So, but sometimes it's not always the firefighter. It might be the person they're married to,
for sure,
guy or girl, right? Mm-hmm. So, maybe you're not with the right person.
Yeah.
And there's a time where that change is a good thing for you, but it's scary because it's all you've ever known. A lot of people get married when they're
young,
very young, right? Like right out of high school, don't know anybody else, don't know anything
themselves.
And now you're looking down the barrel of what? Like this chasm that has no bottom. You don't know anything about the future. And so, change that fear, you get stuck in a situation, and then years tick off and you can't get those years back. Right.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times what you'll see is somebody that, all of a sudden 30 years of marriage is gone, and then everybody's like, whoa, I thought everybody was solid. Yeah. And now that's what? And then they pivot, and then these two people go in completely opposite directions. And it's like, well, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I saw it a lot on boats. I saw people that I met that, I was married for 30 years. I was a school teacher, had this little basic life that we never did anything. We lived in a tiny little apartment in London. And then finally I was like, I'm done with this. I met this gypsy. We got on a boat and we've been sailing the world the rest of it. And I've been happy for the last 20 years. And you're just like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, change can be very good. It is completely crucial for growth.
Oh, heck yeah, it is. Like, what's funny with what you said about that, man, it's like, we're not, from kids in school to adulthood, are we taught to have change? Nope. No. We're taught, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, buy the house, have the family, have the marriage, get that retirement, give your youngest years to the job. And when you're towards the end of your life, that last part, then you can go enjoy yourself. That's what we're taught, right?
Absolutely.
And so now from a kid to an adult, now when you're an adult, you're trying to make a change, and it's like, but wait, I'm going to this job. I take this street. I work with these people. I get my coffee this way. I go through Starbucks. I go through this, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And, you've done the opposite. I find myself, my change was, well, I don't want to live in a car. That wasn't all the time, but that happened numerous times. I don't want to live in I want a home. So it's like, I'd be like, okay, well, to me, I tried to stop that, not circle, but cycle. Yeah, I tried to stop that cycle. So to me, that was change. That was change. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a degree. I'm going to get a good job. You're like, well, I hit that, but the world's a bigger place. And what's funny though, dude, is I've felt pretty identical to what you're talking about. And people have told me, they're like, you're just different. Like in my family, they're just like, you always want to go, go do this thing, go do that thing. I play in the band. Like, hey man, when you put Eric, when you put your mind to it, you're going to make it happen. It's like, well, you should too. I'm nothing special. If you want to go be a musician, travel the world, go do that. Check that box, get that t-shirt. If you want to go sell the world, go do that. Try that. If you want to be a fireman, do that too. If you want to be a cop, do that too. Like, why not? Like, there's so many boxes that this world tries to put you in, and no one wants change. It's like, then the ones that do want change, then they might be afraid to do it. Then the ones that do it, they might get judged for change because they're not in the box now of where the majority of the world thinks you should be. You told me this numerous times. Why I left the job, guys just don't believe me. Like, there's got to be something deeper. It's like,
oh yeah,
no, dude. Like, I legit wanted to do what you just explained.
Yeah.
And even me, when I first met you a few years ago, I was like, dude, we're sitting at the harbor at Long Beach, right, at the port, and we're talking about stuff. I'm like, bro, like, okay, tell me the true story. You're like, no, it is, dude. Like, I'm like, okay, all right. Exactly what you just told us now is the story has not changed.
No,
the story has not changed.
It's documented. It's actually, there's like writing about it. I mean, there's nothing about it and it's funny. I forget that, but that's a great point. It's like, I don't know how many conversations I had with people who were like, well, you really got fired, right? Like, there was something that you left because of, and it was like, no, dude. I mean, you said something that made me think of it. Is like, another reason I did it was because I looked at it. I was 29. I'm like, I'm young. I'm strong. I was watching people that I admired, who I was emulating to be like, retiring from the job with busted up knees and shoulders and hips. So there was a little bit of that too, where I was like, well, I could always come back to the job. I had the 2-year window. So I was like, well, hell, even if I get 2 years out on the seas, that'll be a hell of an experience. And I'll come back to this job and I'll still have the retirement. And then I'll have a different perspective. I'll be a better person, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, I definitely take it to the extreme, like I do everything. So I was gone for 9 years.
Yeah.
And I never thought I was going to end up back in the same fire department. I mean, that's how you and I met. Was I was going to pursue a job in Long Beach Fire.
Yeah.
And I got on a list. I got off an interview, and it was like, dude, I had worked there, and I'm like, man, I'm Fresno through and through. Like, I belong in Fresno. I mean, as crazy as that may sound to some people. Dude,
if you guys,
I'm a Fresno fireman. That's who I am as a person, and I felt a kinship with many people I work with. I care a lot about the people I work with. Pete Nern had gotten hurt at the time. Another buddy of mine had gotten killed in a tragic accident, so I felt a draw to come home, if you will. So a book I recommend to people about this kind of thing is called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. He's a Brazilian author. It was a worldwide giant sensation book for about 15 years ago, I guess. Check it out. It's a story of a shepherd who dreams big and he wants to see the world. I mean, everything we're talking about, and his whole journey kind of does a full circle thing. And I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but check it out. It's a great book. It's very well written. It's an easy read. And it was funny because I read that book on my journey. I was like, yeah, I'll never be like this.
There you go.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, man. But change is one of those things. I think that the fear of I love it when the guys are ranting and raving and pounding their fists on the table about things. And it's today is a great example. I took over that training officer spot, and today I shook it up, man. I changed the entire drill yard. I moved everything, and you could just see people like, oh, what are you doing? Because it's just changing the routine for people. And it's going to be so good when we get it dialed in, and everybody's going to dig it. But to get people there, it's a tough, to turn a battleship or a container ship, it doesn't turn on a dime. It takes miles for that thing to actually alter course. Because it's so big and so heavy, and it has to take its time to move. So, turning the battleship will take a little while, but in order to keep things on a course that's innovative and
Yeah.
good, it takes change, man. You got to
Yeah.
shake it up. And
Mhm.
those are the people that drive forward like positive things, I think.
Yeah.
And another thing we were talking about earlier was like for firefighters, it's like we just got a brand new fire chief, a big chief. And our organization is one of those that we had a very adversarial relationship with admin for a really long time. And your point about COVID, I think, is great, because I do think COVID screwed a lot of things up, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the especially in like public service, where the topic of the vaccinations came up, the potential for forcing it on people. I mean, it was toxic for us as first responders, because we were the front line, right? We were the ones that were out there when we didn't even know what it was, and everybody was actually pretty worried, right? I mean, guys were like, "Dude, I don't want this. I don't take it home to my family. I don't." They're sending us these suits, and the suits don't even fit, and you're like, like, I'm not a big dude. I'm putting on an XL and it doesn't fit. It's like, we got a problem here.
Yeah.
Like, you're not giving us the equipment we need for this supposed. I mean, like, I've seen enough zombie movies, bro. What are we doing? So I saw a lot of guys that were really like sketched about this.
Oh yeah,
and
dude.
it was an incredible amount of stress that the field had to endure. I mean, the weight of that came down on the boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I was our PIO during that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, talk about daily change, daily like trying to see the chessboard. Where's it going? I was trying to get ahead of everything to prevent, the impact into the department. And, the trust. I think that's the biggest, my opinion. Like when you said it, I was thinking about it earlier, a way to put it into words, like the effect of COVID is there's no trust.
Not at all.
And
exactly.
I have one example, I think, that will illustrate that. If you think back to the 15 days, right, to slow the spread, right? Remember that? Mm-hmm. 15 days to, what was it, slow the curve or bend the curve or whatever the hell whatever their little slogan was. It was in 2 weeks we were going to more or less stop this thing in its tracks, right?
Yeah.
Did you go outside? Did you see like LA had no traffic? Dude, everybody did their part.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were some essential services that we still went to the fire stations and things like that. But when you went out in public,
it was empty.
Everything was locked down, literally.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I thought, right on, for all our differences across the world, like people are doing what seems to be right. We didn't know. The information wasn't there. There wasn't people out there acting like assholes. I'm going to do whatever I want. I mean, I'm sure there were plenty of examples, but the majority of people were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, we had a friend in town from Brazil with us, me and my wife, when this happened, and we had to get her to LAX to get her home when this all started. So we had to like plan it out to like jam down to LAX, drop her off, and jam right back home, because we were trying to like follow and do our part as well.
Yeah.
Dude, I was on a 405, 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, and there wasn't a car in sight. That will never happen again in our lives.
It's wild, dude.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will never forget that. I mean, it was like a movie. It was like a zombie movie where all of a sudden, like, dude, when would you ever see the 405 freeway in Los Angeles empty? It doesn't happen on a Sunday night at 2 a.m., right?
No,
much less a Wednesday at 5 p.m. rush hour traffic. So that image has always stuck with me, like, right on to everybody that, in the early days of the pandemic was like, hey, let's do our part.
Yeah.
Then it was like, well, we don't know. Let's extend it. It was masked. We know the story. We all lived it. But that reverberation, that PTSD that people have from that fucking pandemic and the way that it was handled by the bureaucrats who lied and all the other nonsense that went with it. I'm not a vaccine conspiracy theorist. I'm not any of that stuff. But I also was like, well, hold on. Can I get a little information about this before you jab it in my arm? I don't like. We've talked about on previous podcasts, I don't even really take ibuprofen. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I'm down with science.
Yep.
And if this is legit, but it was like, no, just take it. And I'm like, well, hold on. No, we don't,
Yeah, there's a lot of red flags, dude.
Yeah.
Way too many to just ignore.
No, and I mean, when I finally got enough research, my mother had stage 4 cancer. I decided to get it because she was scared to death. And I thought, dude, if my mom gets COVID and it's because of me, I'm going to have to live with that. So I got that vaccine only because of that reason.
Yeah.
It had and I didn't have anything against anybody that didn't or did.
But that was your personal choice.
And I did my own research and stuff, but I didn't get bullied around. But a lot of that was because when I was a kid, when I was younger, I was willing to challenge those things. And that change that we all got forced on us You know, I mean, it's still lingering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they've divided our mentality. And so within our little tiny worlds, our little cosmos of our 400 person fire department or your few station department, whatever you work,
Yeah.
it's like you can still see the remnants of it.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
see the line, the clear
Mhm.
line between.
Yep.
And so it's like, man, you know, it's funny, I was having a conversation with one of our chiefs, and I was telling him, I'm like, we have cultural PTSD in our department.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of departments do.
I agree.
For sure. Yeah.
I think the recession and I think the pandemic in these last 10 years has really done a number on a lot of firefighters and first responders.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that, it's all great when they love us. And then when things are going bad, I mean, the pressure on the field, you know, they forget about the boots on the ground with Big Red running down the street, code 3. I mean, without any of the guys and girls in those rigs, none of this shit even exists.
Exactly.
So your ivory tower at headquarters doesn't exist without the guys and girls that are there right now as we speak getting a call, you know, and running the calls.
Yeah.
And their life is constant change, which is why firefighters like routine off-duty, routine in the stations when they can get it, because the uncertainty of the shift for 48 hours is a constant.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, man. I mean, even like going back to, you know, like you said, the uncertainty of the job, it's like, you know, I wasn't in an area where it was forced upon me either, you know, thank goodness, you know, like with you, but I have plenty of buddies where, you know, you don't get the shot, you're done. You know, we're gonna fire you. You know, you're trying to buck the system, you know, whatever you're trying to do. It's like, but wait, you know, like, hold on. Am I really trying to buck the system, or am I trying to exercise, you know, what this country was founded upon is, you know, your free will? Honestly, that's bucking the system, huh? Really? Okay. You know, I'm not political at all. I'm like neutral as I try to be as neutral as I can be, you know, but just the basics of your own decision, you know, and the division it caused and the stress, and like you said, the cultural PTSD, that was there, and that now the reverberating effects that it's continued to have, you know, it's just sad to see, you know, and there's still guys trying to figure things out, you know, from, you know, the job and, you know, how they got treated or whatever. So my hat's off to all those guys, man. I mean, you know, you're not alone. There's a lot of guys trying to figure it out, you know, but, you know, with the topic of change, the answers will come. You know, you just keep moving forward and keep looking for the answers, keep doing the right things, keep looking for opportunity, keep, you know, sticking up for what's right for yourself, you know, and don't just go into the peer pressure because everybody else is doing something, but, you know, do things for the right reason, and things that change is like, while you're going through it, it's the worst, but when you're on the other side, it feels like it's the best. I mean, is that how you feel? Like, look at all the stuff you went through, man. It's like, and the stuff I'm currently going through, you know, even with me, you know, I'm going to get, you know, I thought it was pretty awesome. I'm going to start going down the path you went down, you know, 6-7 years ago, you know. I'm going to, you know, get a sailboat. I'm going to try to, you know, get that shirt, you know, as you call it, and really just, not encompass, but really just accept every part of change that has happened the past few years, and just understand for the rest of my life, I'm getting to the point where you are. It's like, give me the change. Let's go. Let's keep changing, because you know what? That's what's constant. You know, we all hear that, oh, change is constant, but when it happens, you don't want change, you know? So and
the beauty for you right now is that you may not like it.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds great.
Yeah.
And that's the funny part. I love people that, oh, how it's like, dude, when you roll out a storm, when you're worried about the boat's anchor dragging, when you've run from hurricanes, come talk to me, right?
Yeah.
So all the rewards you get, I believe, far outweigh the harsh, but there are some extreme highs and extreme lows when you live on a boat.
Yeah.
Especially in the ocean.
Yeah.
So I hope you love it. I hope you go all in. But what I'm getting at, right, is that if you give it your all and you give it an opportunity, and in 6 months you're like, F this. I've told you the story about me. I went to Utah for a season
Yeah.
because I started this shit 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
did it for 9 years, and then I've been back here over 7 years, but
Yeah.
I started the sailing over 20 years ago. So I don't remember even what year it was, 13, 14, something like that. But I decided I'd been living in Catalina Island in Southern California for a season or two at that point. And I thought, you know, it'd be cool. Like winter was pretty slow in Catalina. So I was like, maybe I'll go to like a winter town and get a snow job.
Let's get it.
Yeah. And I was like, and I'd met some people that lived in Utah and they told me how beautiful it was. So I went out there and I was like, holy, it really is beautiful. Cool. So I went to like Park City and Midway and Eden and all these cool little places. And I found a job at Snow Basin. And I talked to the ski guy, the ski patrol head, and I'm like, I don't know how to ski. And he's like, okay, well, how are you going to be a ski patrol? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you can teach me. I learn fast. And I was like, and so we started talking. I started giving him my resume and being a firefighter and all this other stuff. And he's like, oh, dude, we got snowmobiles. He's like, you could be like a rescuer on the snowmobile. I was like, oh, done. I'm like, if it's got an engine, I can drive it. No worries. So I was going to be a snowmobile and ski patroller. Dude, I lasted a month. And the snow sucks. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I want my flip-flops. I want my board shorts. I want the sunshine.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Am I a failure?
Oh, heck no.
So if you don't like the boat, you're not a failure.
Yeah.
But now you know 100%. You gave it a shot. It wasn't for you. It doesn't make you a failure.
Yeah.
But the other, you get into that cycle where other people, you're worried they're thinking you're a failure. Like, because you're excited about something and you go do it, and then you're like, oh, you're let down, or it just doesn't jive with you as a person. Me, I ain't into the snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be cold. Right?
Well, I think a lot of us are afraid to even try
Well,
because of that embarrassment of like, what's that person going to do next? What are they
or
going to
the
do
failure,
next?
right?
Or the
Like,
failure,
oh,
right? Yeah.
What if I don't like it?
Yeah.
Cool. Now you know.
Mhm.
100% you know.
Yeah.
And you'll never question that again.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know that you gave it a shot. You swung, dude.
Yep.
But you can't hit a home run if you don't swing.
Exactly, man.
So it's kind of one of those, like, when people ask me those questions, it's like, just try.
Yep.
Just try. And you don't have to go all in. You don't have to cannonball. I mean, there's other ways to do it, right? Like, you could just,
Yeah.
do it in increments. You don't have to be a lunatic like I am about some things, but embrace the change, man. Give it
Yeah.
an opportunity,
Yeah.
And what you were saying about to our brothers and sisters that are still suffering from the aftermath of things like COVID, I agree with. I mean, you're not alone, and you're still in the career. That's awesome. Like, take stock of what's around you. How can you sort of like shake that off? Because the
Yeah.
one thing I tell people a lot is stop having this anger and this bitterness towards the admin or towards the city or the county or the bureaucrats or the politics or whatever you are directing this like pent up vitriol towards, because you're the only one suffering.
Exactly, dude.
Because I can promise you, the city manager ain't thinking about you.
No, they don't care. They do. I mean,
They couldn't
obviously
pick you
not.
out of a lineup,
Yep.
and that's the truth.
Exactly.
So as mad as you want to get, right? They're off having their fancy dinners, doing their thing, and you're the one suffering.
Yep.
So worry about being the best person on your crew,
Exactly.
the best version of yourself to benefit and add value
Mm-hmm.
to wherever you're at,
Yep.
whether that's with your family or on your engine crew or truck crew or squad crew or whatever you're on, and just enjoy like your little circle, and then identify in your life the things that you need to throw out. Do some spring cleaning internally,
Exactly.
and you'll find that even though it's hard at first, like it's like today, right? When I did the spring cleaning out there in that yard, and all of a sudden, 10,000 square feet of space freed up. It looks really good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we can do a lot here. And I'm like, yeah, but we had to sweep it up, right? We had
Exactly.
to do that internal and external sort of cleaning. So
Mm-hmm.
I think just, stop having the fear of change is super important.
Yeah.
Change does not have to be extreme.
Mm-mm.
We've talked many times on our podcast about those gentle course corrections.
Yep.
Pulling your car back into the lane, all these little analogies. It can be simple, man. It can be really simple. Your gym analogy is great, because how many people do you know have the exact same gym routine every day or every week?
Uh-huh.
And do they change?
No.
Or do they maintain?
They maintain, or sometimes they just maintain, or sometimes they don't even see results anymore.
And is that bad?
No, I mean, to them it's not.
And And maintaining is great.
Yeah.
So maybe the maintenance is the goal.
Yeah.
Way too good. Not
Yeah.
saying that you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're not seeing what you want, right?
Yep.
Hey, I want to bulk up. You know, I want to.
Well, I just had the talk,
get my
this
beach
talk
bod,
with you.
right?
Yeah. It's like, man, I'm working out so much. I'm like, something's not right. Something's not right. It can be your diet. It can be your sleep. It can be your stress level. It can be your hormones, it could be whatever. And like, if you're not seeing results, you're like, you gotta look yourself in the mirror again and be like, okay, what am I not doing? You can be doing to yourself, it can be on the job, it could be off the job, whatever. I'm doing everything right. It's like, but if you're not seeing the results you want to see on the job, off the job, in your marriage, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, whatever, if something's not jiving with the work you think you're putting in, maybe you're running in place. Sometimes you see a lot of that. You act like you're busy. Oh, I want change. Okay, I'm going to change. But you're really not changing. You're just talking. It's like, well, just actually go do it and try. That's where I feel like it gets hard, because now, it all sounds great to do the change, to travel the world, to switch the job, to do this, to do that. But it's like, now when you go and do it, that's where you're going to get the change, because more than likely you're probably going to fail a few times, but that's where you grow the most. You're going to fail, probably, honestly, from my personal experience, you're going to fail more than you win. But what happens is those failures it sounds cliche. Those failures, to me personally, are bigger than the actual win, long term, because that's where you grow the most. That's where you get your grit. That's where you get your self-confidence back, of like, no, that's where that I don't know. Failure to me is so much of a bigger way to grow than actually winning.
You always learn more in your losses than you do your wins.
Yep.
And I said it before, I no longer say failure is not an option. I say failure is an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's how I've changed my mindset to where it's like, hey, every time we failed, and the stuff I've been through in these last few months, a lot of other people view it as a failure. A lot of other people, love to hate on people when they're down. They love to they enjoy others' suffering. They enjoy others' like pain, their failures, their missteps. And soak it up, fuckers, because I'm the best I've ever been right now. I feel good, and it's not easy to get here, but I don't give up. I get up. I say it all the time. Knock me down, I'm gonna get up. Right? Yep. You might knock me down again, I'm gonna get up, because what you're saying is 100% true. Failure is an opportunity.
Heck yeah, it is. And even like with mine, man, like for a while, I was afraid to tell people that I wasn't on the job anymore. Because of the judgment, of the failure, of like, oh, he just went off on a PTSD claim. Of course he did. We'd all love that too, Eric. Yeah, if it was given to me, I would too. Why turn that motherfucker down? Yeah. I didn't want it, because I didn't want another option. Because of like, I wanted to make sure, first of all, not for the other people judging, but myself in the mirror knowing, I want to know I gave it all I can give for the job, for myself, for my family, for God, for me. And, there's plenty of times I still look at myself like I have felt like a failure. I'm like, well, I'm not on the job with my buddies anymore. Man, you really failed yourself, man. You failed the job. You failed this. You failed that. And it's like, whoa, dude, no. There was a time to pivot. Like you said, there's a time to be like, you know what? This isn't for me anymore. And you have to be true to yourself and say that's okay to change. Because what you're good at, or what you used to be good at, or you're comfortable, where you feel safe, where you feel security, that may not be good for you anymore. You need to have that big overhaul, per se, of whatever it is, and to let all that judgment come in, let all those opinions come in, let all that stuff, take it all, let it overflow, let everyone speak, and just go out there and freaking kick ass, man. Like that's what you have to do. That's what I've learned through all this. It's like, just go. Don't ever stop. To other people on the outside, it might look like it's slow, but I'm just thinking about this right now. How fast does a sailboat go? Not that fast.
Oh, sailboat? No. Yeah.
You're cruising.
Go 5 miles an hour, baby.
But how far can they go?
Yeah, we can go around the world.
And they never quit.
Yep.
I just thought about that
Yeah.
right now.
That's brilliant.
Right? It's like, don't ever quit. To other people on the outside, that thing's going way too slow. It's like, but I'm freaking going. Yeah. I'm not quitting. Yeah, there might be some storms. There might be some.
That's a good one.
There might be some stuff here.
Oh, there will be.
Yeah.
I promise you there will be.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty. The storm passes.
Yeah.
And that's a great.
Yeah.
For me, that's perfect, because it makes 100% sense, right?
Yeah.
No, I think that's great, dude. I'll give you another like final thing on my fire service related for change. We get into this mode in the fire service, right? Where like the new people, they're new. They don't know shit. You're going to learn it our way, right? The Fresno way and the Long Beach way and the Apple Valley way, whatever department you work in.
Yeah.
And that's great. I'm all for tradition. I think it's important. I am proud of where I work.
Yeah.
And the men and women I work alongside that, and the men and women I worked with before who taught me and raised me in this profession. I got a lot of love for them. I got a lot of love for the tradition, right? I think we do a lot of good stuff here in this department. We are busy. We fight a lot of fire. So, we can hold our heads high and all that good stuff. So that's great. Some of our best change comes from some of the newest people on the job.
Yep,
you know,
for sure.
And it's a struggle. So, an example, probably 4 years ago, I was an engineer at, I guess 5 years ago, I was an engineer at one of our busy stations downtown, one of the rookies at the time, and now he's about a 5-year firefighter, right? But at the time, he'd come on the job. He'd been with a smaller department prior to get hired with us. Not quite as busy, but he was just a student, constantly trying to learn. And then there was a few other, also at the same time, around the same time as probationary firefighters, who were big on like nozzles and the theory behind like smoothbore nozzles, right? Well, so my particular department, we've always been automatic fog nozzles. And that's what I grew up with. We have 3 cross lays, 2 are 1.5 inches, 1's 1 3/4 inches. If you pull 1 3/4 inches in my department, you better have an excuse or a reason why. I mean, and that's our mentality. We pull 1.5 inches on everything. I'm not saying it's good. Go ahead and talk shit all you want. I don't care. Point is, that's the culture that we're in. We've gotten much better. There's a lot of stuff, but I mean, for years, that was just what we did. We pulled 1.5 inches and we knocked fires out. You can put a lot of fire out with 1.5 inches. We have reel lines still. We fight a lot of fire with 1-inch reel lines.
Yeah.
We have our policies. We're much safer. So, you can argue all you want, whatever. All of our source stuff is open to on our fire department website. You can look at any of our SOPs, SOGs. And that's the beauty. We're changing, we're growing, we're improving at all times. So this kid and I was his engineer, and I pulled him aside and I just said, look, dude, you are going to change this fire department. But your excitement right now about this stuff with the smooth bores and things, I'm like, you need to pay attention to your audience. These are salty dogs who have seen a lot.
Yeah.
And you are some kid with 5 minutes here and you're talking about potentially changing how we do business. Like, I'm in, bro. I see your vision. You got me. Like, I'll let you run with it and I'll follow your lead because I understand that like what you're saying makes sense. I've looked into it, and I mean, but I have a different mindset. I'm down with change.
Yeah.
I'm like, 99 out of 100, it's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah.
And I think him and the other guys that were involved in that, they took that to heart because they were able to do it in a way where they slowly amassed enough support. Guess what? Now we have this 2.5-inch line on the back of our bed that has a smoothbore, and it's a low pressure one that a single firefighter can man. So we can pull a 2.5 and put 265 GPM on a fire with a single firefighter.
Yeah.
And it's money. And that came from a kid who had less than 2 years on the job, and a couple of kids on the job that had less than 5 years together, all of them. So, now obviously they had to go through a process and everything, and Chiefs, plenty of people were involved. So it wasn't just them, but I doubt many people really truly realized that the actual sort of spark of innovation, what changed in our department, it started with those young, like lions that had that motivation and desire and innovation and creativity and drive to go get the education.
Yeah.
So don't sleep on your young people.
Yeah.
That's the future of your department.
Yep.
You need to be a succession planner in your department. And nothing drives me more crazy than a captain, an engineer, a senior firefighter who doesn't give these people all of their knowledge. Because your goal should always be that the people that you've worked with, if you're in a mentor role, they exceed and eclipse you when they reach the ranks that you're in.
Yes, dude. I'm so about that. It's like always try to make them better than you.
That's
100%, dude.
That should be the goal of anybody in a mentor role.
Exactly.
Firefighter, engineer, captain.
Yep.
Your goal should be, because I look back on the captains that raised me, and I'd like to think that just through technology, new information, how the fire service has changed so much. I have a bigger wealth of knowledge than they did when they had their careers, and it doesn't diminish them for a second because they poured everything into me. So I was fortunate to get downloaded all of their stuff and others and my own. And now I'm trying to do that for others too. And it's like, I want those young lions to change the world.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, I'm not gonna go into detail too much about this, but I do remember there was change at a certain department, and somebody else took credit for it. I've seen that too, and it's happened to me personally. You're like, wait, what? Oh, thanks, cool. You know, awesome, sweet. You don't say anything, but you're just like, all right, I know that you didn't come up with that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
You didn't find that video. You didn't come up with that idea, but you for sure implemented it and took it like it was yours.
Yep.
You know, and then there's also the ones that just want change just to say, I changed.
Yep.
I made that change. And they're doing it for the wrong freaking reason.
Yeah. They're
just trying to reinvent the wheel just because.
Or pad a resume.
Or whatever it might be. It's like, have the right intention. Have the, if you're trying to make change like, that young firefighter did, it's like his heart was in the right place.
Oh, yeah.
They're young. They're like, they want to get in. They want to see the change. They're like, because things are constantly changing. Vehicles are constantly changing. Construction is changing. Engineering is changing. So when they're going to these fire academies, a lot of these academies are typically up to date with the greatest new thing, and different studies and BTUs and whatever it might be. So it's like we definitely learn from the ones younger than us. I mean, when I was at LB, I think I had 6 rookies when I was there, and I loved it. First of all, they're coming in, they're freaking ready to go on fire.
Yep.
And I'm trying to stay a step ahead of them, then they're trying to stay a step ahead of me. And they're fresh out of the academy, they're ready to go. And it's like you're learning so much.
Yep.
Same thing at AV. It's like we did some of the rookie training there and testing and whatnot, and just don't ever think we're better than everybody else. Yes, we're gonna have some more experience. You're gonna have more fires under your belt. There's a time when you're younger to listen because you got the experience or whatever. I get all that, but it's like we're all growing together. We're all learning from each other. We're gonna fail together, and we're gonna freaking get back up together. And I think that's it's about change. But I guess I kind of.
No, it's good. Like this guy I'm talking about, he's on now 5 years, maybe even a little more. I don't know, the time frame's a little fuzzy, but I just remembered him and I were just texting last week about the same thing, about implementing some new stuff that is related to that particular nozzle and that setup and that package.
Yeah.
And because I want to get it into some training manuals, because we don't even have it into our training manual currently. And it's like, so 5 years later, he's still motivated.
Yeah.
Because I hope I had something to do with it. I'm not taking credit. He worked with really good people also who, inspired him and kept him engaged and whatnot. But I hope I played some small part where I didn't suppress his urge and his desire to improve things by bullying him into why don't you keep your mouth shut? You don't know shit. You're just a kid. I hope I helped. I hope I, made him feel like he could change things, and that I played some small part, and something worked, because 5 years later, he's still fired up and wants to do it, and he's still engaged. So, that's the thing, is like, don't put that rookie spark out with your people. I mean, yes, there's rookies we got to fire. This job isn't for everybody. I'm not advocating that everybody that comes along should change the world. That's not the case. I'm saying that, you know who they are. You can see them. There's some that just have that. And, but being open-minded from that, change can come from the bottom or the top. It can come from all directions. Yeah. And it can be really good.
Yep.
I've said this before. I'm really excited about the direction of my department currently. We had a chief who was in the helm for almost a decade, and she steered us through some tough times. I mean, we had a lot of stuff happen here, and she handed over a department in pretty damn good shape to a guy who I think is going to take it to the next level, just because he got a pretty good package handed over. And The chief who had it before him, she got a pretty rough package that she started with. So,
Yeah.
And it's not, obviously she didn't do it by herself. She had a whole team of people, and more and more people are getting more involved with driving forward organizational change and improvement. And that's cool to see.
Yeah.
Because I feel like our department was so far behind the times for a long, long time.
Got it.
And so it's exciting, man. Like, I'm a part of it. I dig it. I'm down for the change. I think it's going to benefit everybody. Sometimes it's a growing pain. Everybody, it's hard to get out of our own ways and break the routine. I like it. I like sleeping in the recliner at 1:30 also, man. I always advocate for the crews. Hey, we leave them alone. They're doing their jobs. If you're in a job like me on daylights and stuff, it's like we're doing the lifting on the side over here. That's what our job should be, is to support the field. But yeah, I just like this topic because you and I were talking about you getting into the boats, and I'm excited for you to check out if that only becomes a small chapter in your life. Hey, dude, way good. You tried it out. You took a swing, just like me going to the snow. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You've done the overland thing. You've kind of, and that's another thing about firefighters that's interesting, is that a lot of us, a couple of my buddies and myself, like, we've had a million hobbies, right? We get into all these things and we go all in.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, done it, seen it, got shirt, mastered it, so to speak. And then it's like, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Well, that's a beautiful thing in this life, man.
Yep.
And we are so fortunate in a country like this where you're able to pursue those types of things. Like, imagine the ability to go to a place like Utah and say, nah, not for me, I'm out. Unbelievable beauty. I'm just a sissy with the cold, right?
Yep.
So how fortunate I was to just return to my sailboat and go back to an island and keep teaching boating and diving and driving commercial boats and all this other stuff. Same thing in the fire department. Like, I'm in training. Maybe I hate it. I don't know. I think I like it. I'm into it. It's kind of my wheelhouse. But hey, 6 months from now, a year from now, it could change, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't dread anything. I'm just I'm just gonna roll with it, dude.
Yep. That's such a good way to live, though, man, because I think just we get caught up in our own heads of, once I'm in this position, I got to be in this position. Once I'm in that position or that role, I got to be in that role or position. And if you're not truly happy, I've asked this to numerous guys. They get promotions, or they switch a station, or the new job, even if it's not in the fire service. How do you like it, man? You happy? Nah, it's a job.
Yeah.
It's like, no, are you happy? Man, it's different. It's like, no, okay, well then obviously it's not what you thought it was, but they're afraid to admit, maybe I'm not too happy. It's not what I thought it was going to be. That's okay. It's okay to admit that. It's okay to say, maybe it wasn't what I thought, but I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do what I got to do with it or whatever. And, maybe I'll do this or do that, but the same point is
it's mindset, right?
It's just a mindset, man.
Mindset. We got the Eeyores. Right? Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Everything sucks. Everything's hard.
Yeah.
We got Eeyores in every department. And no matter what, Eeyore is going to be miserable. So
the complainers,
they can't wait
dude.
to get out of the training spot. They can't wait to get out of the station. They can't wait to transfer from this crew. They can't wait. Those are the people that no matter what, they're never going to be happy. Yeah. Like, don't be an Eeyore. It's really easy to be an Eeyore, So just like change your mindset. Just look at it like everything is an opportunity. And even if you're in a spot that does suck, dude, I went to the Center of Excellence. I tricked myself into believing I was in rookie school for my mental health.
No, it's those little things, dude.
One of the things that I looked at it as.
How stupid to some people that might sound. It's like, really, you are tricking your brain to try and you're just trying to reverse engineer, like, I need to be here.
Yes.
Is what you're trying to do. Because, and you're trying to make it a positive or some type of outcome so you can hijack your brain so you are paying attention like you truly want to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get the most out of it.
I wanted my bed, my food, my house, my wife, my truck, my.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in a tiny little twin bed in the,
Yeah,
so you're exactly right. Reverse engineering is a perfect way to say it, where you just have to, you got to beat your own brain at that stuff.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
I think this is a great discussion. I love this kind of stuff, especially things like this topic, because I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, like, if you're picking up from this that we're advocating go make a massive change, you're missing the point entirely.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be open-minded to even the smallest little changes, because what we've both said in these things about, like, when you're dealing with mental health, so to speak, It's like, for me, I made little changes. I didn't make a massive sweeping life change that corrected my course. You know, I made little tweaks in various areas of my life, and I'm better than I've been in a long time, and I feel good. And I'm not fooling myself that I'm perfect and cured and nothing's ever going to happen again. Like we talked about the struggles of every day, and the fact that like you're going to have shitty meditation, shitty sauna, shitty calls, shitty days. People are going to piss you off. Your boss is going to piss you off. Your crew members, all that stuff. Shit's going to happen.
Exactly.
But it's just like, dude, if you just reframe it all.
Yeah.
Right? Don't live in fear. And don't fear the change. And then, you know, and sometimes like when the change happens, like you can change back.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you can take a shot and find out it's not for you and go back. And then you know what happens? You appreciate what you started with even more.
Exactly, dude.
Because you thought it was greener over there.
Yep.
And you took a peek
and
you went, damn, I had it pretty good over here.
Yep.
And then you won't forsake that again.
It totally true. All perspective, man. It's all perspective. And, you know, we're getting to the point, you know, we're going to just with the baby boomers and this generation, there's a lot of retirements, you know, a lot of retirements coming up, you know, and that's a big change, not just for the person, but for the families. You know, wives get on their schedule. Girlfriends are used to their schedule, you know, when, you know, or boyfriends, if you know, if it's a girlfriend or wife, you know, because firewomen, firemen, now that person's home all the time. You know, either of them have their schedules, and okay, you go away for, you know, 48 hours, 72, 96, you know, that's kind of their time to do whatever they got to do, you know, then they come home. Now they feel like, you know, while that person is gone, they come home thinking they have control of the house again or whatever. And it's like, no, you're gone. I had to take care of this stuff. Like, you're coming back into this life, you know, that's your life over there. Right. Yeah. So now when you come up to retirement, you know, mine was way sooner than I thought it was going to be, but that was a big change for me. But there's a lot of people I'm talking to that they're coming up to it. They have just recently retired. They've given their, you know, longer careers than me. And they go through that identity thing of change of, you know, what do I got to do, you know, when I get up in the morning? How am I going to have fulfillment? You know, that's a big change for them. And then you look at that. I'm a younger guy, you know, these ones, you know, got 20, 25 years on me, you know, so it's like now you got the age factor, you know, on top of the retirement, right? Now they're looking in the mirror, they look a little bit older. And there's something that one of my buddies, you know, captain buddies that recently retired told me, he's like, man, you know, the closer I got to retirement, you know, these calls were running. It's like, you know, is that how I'm going to be when I retire? Like, you know, that older person in the couch that really can't get up, you know, and whatever. It's like, no, man, you know, you're young, you ride mountain bikes, you stay active, you do a ton of things. So it's like, there's going to be times where it's like, sometimes what I've seen too with retired people is they go back to what they know of maybe the teaching or maybe, going back to college for something new, that whatever, that's great. But, you know, accept change in something else, maybe pick up a new hobby, pick up something that you've always wanted to do because maybe you couldn't do it because of the job, you know, but sometimes our brains will get us back into what we know we're good at or what we're comfortable with, you know? And so, you know, you're a prime example of it. I'm trying to do that. I'm going to start teaching at the college here soon, but it's something I really like to do. You know, so that's another thing. I know retirement's such a big one from a lot of people I've been talking to me recently of just the massive change that comes within the family, you know, of different communication style now. Now they're in the bed every night together. They weren't used to that for over 30 years. Just so much stuff goes into that. And maybe they thought they knew their mate, and they really don't, you know?
Yeah, that's that part when, like we were saying, sometimes you gotta, things have to change, you know? We recommended the book Fully Involved from Minda Oz. So if you missed that podcast, that's a great book for anybody married to a firefighter. If you want to kind of get some insight from a doctor who was married to a firefighter, or is married to a firefighter and has been for a long time. Yeah. She also just wrote a book recently when Jeff retired about retirement. I think it was like When the Call Stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I haven't read that. I'm not retired, but you know, like I would advocate, hey, go out and pick it up. Fully Involved is really well written. I can't imagine that one's not. So,
Yeah.
that's part of planning for the change, recognizing that things are going to be. And I'm a big advocate for our retired firefighters that have all that experience. It's like, I think you should get involved in teaching in some shape or form. It does not mean I'm saying go teach 4 weeks out of the month.
Yeah.
I'm saying like, do it twice a year, dude.
Yeah.
Like, pick a topic you're money at. So you're a guy that is a good captain that runs a great fire. So teach company officer 2D.
Yeah.
Sign up for that. Go through the state curriculum. It's not that difficult. Get yourself certified and registered, dude, and then teach it when you want.
Exactly.
And put on a good class so that the kids coming up in the fire service aren't going to a class and just getting a piece of paper, which sucks.
And it happens quite a bit.
They're fucking puppy mills up and down the state. That's all they do is just give out papers. They don't actually give out good curriculum.
Yeah.
There's some great schools out there too that do great work for people, and great instructors, but like, be one of those people, like, give back what you got. Because if you're bitter at a city, at an admin, at a county, it's like, again, you're only hurting us, the fire service. You're hurting your so-called brothers and sisters. It's like, share that stuff with us so that your legacy can live on, and this place keeps getting better, because now the ones you developed become better than you.
Exactly.
And all that work and sweat and blood and tears you put into it, it doesn't go for nothing. And so I do advocate for that. I advocate, go buy yourself a bulldozer and get on the out of county strike team deals and go make yourself some dough that way. I mean, the sky's the limit, man. Like, I was just talking to a DC the other day, and I was telling him about being a harbor patrol officer over in Catalina. I was like, dude, you should totally, because he just got a sailboat a few years ago, and I was like, he's looking at a couple more years in the department, and then he'll be riding off in the sunset. And I was like, brother, dude, you'll love it, man. Go for the summer. Anchor up in the harbor, more up in the harbor. And dude, you get to just like cruise around on a boat. It's a great job. Like, you work some storms and there's some gnarly shit, but not in the summer. It's usually pretty chill and it's fun. You see a bunch of cool boats, a bunch of cool people.
Yeah.
You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the fun, right?
Exactly.
But it keeps you busy, keeps you engaged. You learn a new skill set. Cause that's like, true firefighters are always going to be doing stuff like that.
Yes.
Anybody that's good at this job is never going to sit still.
No, heck no.
And
I wasn't advocating not to do fire stuff. I want to reiterate on that.
You weren't. No.
It was more of just like, be open to possibilities.
I was agreeing with you that like, I do advocate for that. I think it's great. It's like, well, your point, don't just do only that because it just feels safe and kind of like push your limits, dude. Yeah. Chances are you could probably do more than you ever thought you could do. And I think that's what you were getting at, right? So it's like, you probably can teach a class that you don't even realize you can, and it would be awesome, and it will start to get traction because word of mouth with, tell a friend, tell a phone, tell a firefighter. It's got to get out there. So it's like, hey man, have you taken Eric's class on whatever? It's like, man, it was awesome, dude.
Yep.
Like, and that didn't even seem like a cool topic to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's our goal.
Yep.
For anybody listening, if you care, Eric and I, our goal is to get a class together that we can potentially get through the state and then put it on to be able to give a certificate to anybody, anybody that wants it, dealing with this kind of stuff. We don't know what it's called. We don't know the full curriculum.
We're working on it.
We're building it as we go. But I mean, that's our goal, is so that we hope that we can deliver this kind of stuff in person and have open dialogue to where it's not just us, quote unquote, teaching, but us learning with a group full of firefighters in a room and just, being kind of just basically the two that start the conversation. And see where it goes from there. And I think, because that's a powerful thing.
Because I mean, I don't know if you've been told this, but I've been told this by a few people. It's like, with our peer support, it's a great thing, but sometimes with the experience and, the class that we're talking about, it's like, it could really just help peer support in another way too, of just different thinking, maybe different questioning, because I know a lot of the peer support is just like listening, and, giving advice and letting your buddy, know you're going to be there. But, the stuff we're trying to come up with change, once again, what we're trying to do is trying to bring change into something that's not really talked about, but it's really meant to truly help, and that's the goal here, with the podcast, with, some of the, the classes we want to teach. And it's really meant to just letting people know that we hear you, we hear you. We hear people, voicing their opinions, and we're just trying to back you guys too, so hope it helps. We really do. Really hope it helps. No, and selfishly, it's for us, too, in a way, because I know for me, a lot of this is therapeutic. I mean, for a while, I just felt like I was, doing this on my own, which I know I wasn't, but with the podcast and with talking with you and other conversations this has opened, it's really opened up a lot of therapeutic conversations, not just for us, but for everybody else. And it's been very therapeutic for them to know, like, guys can talk about this. And it's not playing the victim. Once again, it's understanding, hey, here's a solution. Let's get some tools and let's work towards, this end goal. Yeah. Basically.
Well, that's the beauty, man. When we quote unquote started this podcast, it wasn't like we had this business plan, right?
No, not
we hit
at
record on, I think it was my phone the first night, and we just started talking about the SGB shot.
Yeah.
Because I said, dude, let's just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need a framework. Let's just talk. I mean, we're always talking. Why not record it?
Yeah.
So a lot of our conversations are exactly like this when the stupid microphones are off, right? So
yeah, we're just recording it.
The point is that, neither one of us really, we didn't have expectations on this. We were open to whatever it took us to. We're doing these because people are asking us for more.
Yep. And we're changing as we go.
And we're trying to come up with things that we hope you're not turning off because all right, they're droning on about the same shit over and over. Cause I hate that. Yeah. I hate it's like, dude, I can read. I know what PTSD is. I understand, the wellness wheel and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, and it all has a place, right?
Yeah,
but it's
for sure.
just like, you and I have the experience to talk about that we can share these, kind of perspectives and stories, and hopefully it continues to grow. And
for sure.
And we want this to change too. We want it to take a life of its own.
Yep, exactly.
We have ideas to maybe interview people. If if you have topics, Eric says it every time, like put comments, whatever else is on there. I don't know. I never look at it. Yeah. So
I put a poll on the last one. So
did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm just trying different things too to see what works.
I think it's great, man. Like we're just trying, and who cares if somebody doesn't like it? It's like I said,
exactly.
Turn it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Please, I'm telling you right now, turn this off if you don't like it. Because
man.
It's funny. One of my buddies came in the other day. I'll
wrap it up.
What are we? An hour and a half, probably.
Yeah.
That's good. One of my buddies came in the other day, and he goes, "Man," he said, he goes, I love the content. The podcast is great. And he goes, I wish it wasn't you.
That's right. Yeah.
I said, okay, I'll bite. Why? What's up? And he goes, oh man, I don't want some people, to not listen to it because of what you went through, and them thinking that you're only doing this because of what you went through. And I was like, I am doing this because of what I went through.
Yeah.
So if they think that, I don't care. Like that's the truth. Like, yeah, what I went through is what opened my eyes to this.
Yep.
And saw the void that needed to be filled, and I'm not afraid to fill that void.
Yep.
And I got a buddy, fortunately, who's doing it with me, and we have this different mindset, yet the same. We have this yin yang thing, like you called it, and it works because, we don't have an agenda. We're not trying to like monetize it off people.
Mm-mm.
We're not trying to give you the 1, 2, 3, follow the Eric method, and you will do it. We're just saying like, this works for me, doesn't work for me. Blah, 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 blah. So that conversation with him, I told him, I said, dude, that's fine. There's haters and they're going to hate, right? And I said, but I count on you to set those guys straight at the table. So when they're talking shit and saying like, well, but who are these guys? Or, what they said this, I'm hoping that guys that we can give you courage to look at those people and be like, did you listen? Are you listening to what's being said? Are you hearing what other people are saying about it? Are you, what is your problem?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Because if you have that courage at the table, to set somebody straight and say, well, why don't you just turn it off? You don't have to listen.
Exactly. And typically the ones saying that are the ones that are not going to want to do anything anyways. They're the ones that have skeletons. They're the ones that think they're perfect. They're the ones that blah, 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 blah. It's like, whatever, dude. I mean, whatever.
They're the ones that are usually suffering the most, which is unfortunate. They're the ones that actually probably need to take a good, long, hard look in the mirror, because the ones that are listening, we're not even saying that they need to follow anything we're saying. It's just kind of like, it's just content, dude. It's just like a training class. It's just one of those like, and what you said is spot on. Like it's for both of us. I mean, the change that we're both going through when we have these conversations, I mean, it's funny how it sparks. I mean, we both have like 10 ideas after each one we talk about. Like, we should talk about this. We should talk about that. And that's a cool thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it invigorates both of us, reinforces to us that things that we're doing, the path we're walking, feel correct.
Yeah.
We're going to keep doing what we need to do, course correct. We're going to embrace change.
Yep.
We're not going to fear the future. We know we're going to get knocked down in the future, but we're going to get up.
Yep.
And we're going to keep moving forward. And
that's it, man.
We're going to be grateful, like you taught us. And I hope anybody hearing this, what can you change today? What's a small change you can make? And that's, to wrap it all up, it's can you be honest with yourself, and can you look at one small change today that you can commit to and see how it feels. Put your toe in the water, see what it's like.
Yeah.
Go check out the snow. It may not be for you.
Yeah. You might get a little frostbite, but you're good.
But go check it
exactly
and make sure. And then once you know, then hey, no worries. Then you can put that thing to rest.
And even there's times you're doing this, dude, and I'm like, does this even matter? Are people even listening? I got 2 text messages today. Hey man, like this episode.
Wow.
I got text message and a phone call. And the other phone call was like, hey man, I listened to this episode. Love it, and I'm like, okay, no, what we're doing matters. I always tell myself if it was just one person that I can help that day, or even a year from now, whatever the time frame is, hopefully whatever it is, it can help change something in somebody's life, and it already has. So in my opinion, the mission, the goal, whatever you want to call it, it's already been accomplished. It really truly has.
I agree.
It truly has. Yeah. We're doing this because it's like, no, we're like, it's going to help more people, whoever wants to listen to it. Like you said, if you don't, turn it off. But if for the ones that do want to listen, that's why we're doing it. Yep. For sure. So
no, totally. And last thing I'll say is basically like, I know we were having a discussion today. It's like, if there is anybody listening that like doesn't know me but know you, but wants to talk to me, like, dude, I'm willing to talk to people just like I know any of the people that know me. Shane.
Yeah.
If you hear Eric and you identify and resonate with Eric, I can put you in touch with Eric.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, he's more than happy to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Text messaging, talk to you, email.
Heck yeah.
Same here with me for any of you brothers or sisters that are in Eric's tribe.
Yep.
And might think, I don't want to bother this guy. It's like, dude, you're not a bother. Like,
not at all.
That's why we're doing this.
Exactly.
And trust me, I sat at the table in the Center of Excellence with some brothers and sisters and shared some stuff that like it changed me completely to the core.
Yep.
And so I will never turn my back on anybody that needs just even an ear.
Mm-hmm.
I talk a lot, so if you need to talk, I can shut up, believe it or not.
I know.
Which I will do now and let you close this out because I think this was great. I appreciate the conversation, brother.
Yeah, man. So like I actually got to meet some dudes over at Threes, the other day. And, if any of those guys are listening to this, I want to just say thank you for the welcome. Everyone was super nice at the station. It was nice for you guys to welcome me in there, walk around a little bit, check out, some culture, see some stuff there, see the training center. So, it was really nice to, be back in a fire station and, see the grit, see the culture, see the photos, see the patches, the smell, all that stuff. So, want to thank you guys for that. But you can reach me at epadgettcoaching@gmail.com. You can reach Shane over at
RISCfirecaptain.com
awesome.
or .gmail.com. Time for bed. It's one of our sleep podcasts.
Yeah. And then, reach out over the questions or comments. Let us know what you guys want to hear. And we do pay attention to it, and leave a star if you would like or not. See you guys on the next one.